Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is October 25th, 2020. Here we are on the precipice of a full moon, a blue full moon, rare, crazy moon, sitting exact conjunct Uranus. Oi, 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 oi. It's going to be an interesting week, you guys, and it falls on Halloween. Good morning, Juan. It is so great to have you back in the chat. We've missed you terribly. I hope you're feeling better. Welcome, Brianna, Shelley, Nikki, Michelle, Angie, Stephen, Flamingo. Haven't got a clue, Tara. Welcome, Creepy Kita, Alexandra, Hot Retarded Chick. Good to see you again. CC Pups, Mila. All right, so let's just chat for a second about the events of this week, because we're coming to this time when we are reaching the presidential election on November 3rd. That's just a few days after this full moon, blue moon, which happens, I think, once every 2 years. It's when we have 2 full moons in 1 month. And this one is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Wow. We know what Uranus represents: revolution, liberation, unexpected, anxiety, erratic behaviors. And we also have very much, and in the influence of this, is a square, an exact square between Saturn and Mercury. Mercury is still retrograde. It's in Libra right now, and it is at 26 degrees on this full moon, and that will be in square to Saturn. So we know Saturn rules authority, depression, sadness, bad news, kind of all things grim. And what a day for the grim to come in, right? Is that on that full moon on Halloween. So where I'm going with all of this is that while the world continues to be inflamed in many ways, we will see respite, but it's going to be a few more weeks. It's going to be maybe a few more months. So as we go into this full moon, what can we release? What can we release and liberate ourselves from? And I want to go to Taurus, ruling the second house, ruling, our self-worth, our possessions, and the things that we hold dear, not our peoples, but our material things. So be mindful. I also want to say this, you guys, be mindful of your actions this week. And I don't mean your behavior. I mean where you put yourself. The last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of weekend demonstrations where cars are going up and down the street, waving flags and honking horns. So if indeed these people expressing their beliefs and people showing their support for certain things, or their lack of support gets you going, step out, take care of yourself. I plan on spending the next couple of weeks kind of quiet. I've been very thoughtful, having my sun squaring this whole transit in Capricorn. And while I expected in some ways more disruption, I have actually played to the highest vibrations within myself, being very mindful of how much news I'm watching, being very mindful of the people I'm around, and being mindful of what I'm putting in my body as well. So I'm trying to fuel my body so it can help me adapt to the changes, because we've got a lot more changes coming. So I just want to kind of bring that up for the week. And remember that this full moon is going to have 2 weeks of influence. So it's happening on the 31st, and it's going to take us all the way till Mercury goes direct. And I think that's on the 14th of November. So while the world watches what happens and economies will be holding their breath, we ourselves should shine our light. That's what I want to say, because I don't think we're going to have any conclusions coming up. I don't think we're going to have any answers. I think we're going to have more unexpected confusion. So that's where I'm putting that. And And the other thing I want to say too about the Mercury squaring Saturn in Libra and Capricorn is that Libra represents relationships, and not just relationships with others, but contracts. And it represents diplomacy. It represents, um, in some ways, it represents it's kind of cooperative with Capricorn because, again, we're talking authority, but this is more the legal system, more that kind of diplomacy kind of idea. So there could be a challenge of where one person thinks they're being fair and another person thinks they're being fair, but one is sticking to the rules and the other is thinking about how it actually lands on the human and how it feels. Does it create harmony, aka the Libra dynamic? So that's what I mean. So just this week, I would be mindful not to rub up against people who knock on your funny bone or your irritation bone. I would think about this full moon and what do I want to personally be liberated from? What do I personally want to release myself from, the way of shackles? And I kind of think this is an interior job of beliefs. So that's where I'm going. But now let's start our readings. We're going to start with Pisces as usual and work our way towards Aries. And then we'll be on our way. All right, let's see what Spirit has to say with this full moon. I don't know if, I know Halloween is here. I don't know if other people celebrate Halloween in other countries, so it might be a different day. But the day after, I think, in Mexico is considered the Day of the Dead. And I want to take that again to its highest vibration. It's liberation from the human illusion. When we cross back over, we see things from a very different perspective. We see that life does go on, and the things that were holding us back in the way that we thought were so important, Saturn, opposite Mercury, or I'm sorry, squaring Mercury. Think about these kind of things so you can liberate yourself from them. All right. Here we go. Our first angel for Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Merlina. The third is Indriel. And the final is Bridget. All Saints Day. That's right, Brianna. I think it's also known as the Day of the Dead. It's on the Day of the Dead, or All Souls is not on the second. Yeah, it's on the first, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right. For Pisces, joining Archangel Gabriel is the Hawk. Joining Merlina is the Wealth card. Joining Indriel is the Truth card. And joining Bridget is the Protection card. Okay, so this is how I want to put it. Well, not how I want to put it. This is what I want to say. Archangel Gabriel talks about communications. She'll talk about having a divine life's purpose in arts and communications, and to turn your insecurities over to her. And the Hawk is about rising above my fears, rising above the situation to see a broader point of view. I want to offer it this way. I feel like for my Pisces, even if you're trying to step up and see things from a broader point of view, you're not really being able to see things from a broader point of view because you're thinking about what you can manifest. And I think this broader point of view is really Archangel Gabriel saying there are things you cannot see that are happening, because the Hawk also represents signs and omens. So I think that what Archangel Gabriel is asking you to do is look for the signs and omens. And I'm going to go directly to the fourth position, that you are being protected. This moon rules our emotions. It is literally conjunct Uranus that rules anxiety. It rules, feeling like you're being poked with a little bit of an electric prod. So Pisces, being as sensitive as you are to not only the connection to the angelic realm and all things unseen, the vibration of the planet itself may make you feel anxious. So I feel like the major theme for you for this week going into this full moon is to know that you're being protected, because in your opportunity, your obstacle, Merlina talks about being confused and indecisive. And it's interesting because it's really come to me that she's a wizard. Look at her. She kind of is like Merlin. And she'll say to do more research. That's what Mercury retrograde will ask. But I think it's really more in looking at all the things that have been working versus what has not been working. Because in the angel's advice, there is something that's been happening that's working. There's the truth card and there's Indriel. I kind of want to say it this way. When we are endeavoring to create something on the planet, we get very focused in on accomplishment. So we see a goal, and oftentimes we go for the goal. The minute the goal is accomplished, rather than sitting in the accomplishment, we move on to the next thing that needs to be addressed. And I feel like that's what could be potentially creating any sort of confusion, indecision for you right now, or confusion and unsuredness, because the truth is that you've made more headway than you realize you've made. And it may all have to do with just your being energy, your ability to communicate to God and the angels, to see the signs and the omens, that so much of this year was really not fruitful for moving the big push story forward. Now, as I say that, I want to give myself a little bit of a get out of jail free card, because we know that Pluto and Jupiter conjunct can create millionaires, create great abundance. So part of this could potentially be for Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, that this whole period of time, as these planets have been going back and forth in Capricorn and doing this dance, there was something you were learning, something that you were learning how to solidify within yourself, within your being energy, that will then make your actions more influential to create in the money, the abundance, and the opportunities you want moving forward. Because that's where I think you're being protected. Sometimes no action is actually action. No action is your faith in that there is a divine energy working that is moving things around that you can't see. So often the human is just all boom, 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 boom. Move forward, move forward, move forward. And then we start to feel the knocking our head against the wall. And it is because we're in the middle of a baton pass, and we've forgotten that we're working in connection with spirit. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. And I want to welcome Chaos Theory back. Did I see you up there? Yes, there you are. It's been a long time. Good to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Seema Saxena. I don't know what that means. Hi, Thibaut. Good to see you. Did I miss anybody else? So nice to see Juan's name in the chat. Feels like it hasn't been here forever, huh? Okay, here we go. On to our Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, Melissa. Hi, Shinli Averti. Welcome from India. Okay. Welcome, Stasi from Seattle. And Akia, I think that is. All right, here we go. Okay. For our Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, Uranus is your ruling planet. So let's see. Here we go. Our first angel is Sonia. The second is Opal. The third is Grace and Antoinette. Ooh, these cards. And the final is Isaiah. Interesting. Welcome, Nico. Good to see you. And Dawn. Oops, there goes a card. That's the one. Let me get it. All right. Joining Sonia is the partnership card. Very interesting. I keep saying interesting, I know, but I think this is really going to be very personal for Aquarius. Okay. Opal is being joined by the Swan. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Disruption card. And Isaiah is being joined by the Movement card. Okay. So the first thing I want to say is I really think for those of you that are Aquarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, if you're a stellium in Aquarius, this is really very powerful, because I think that Sonia representing a deceased loved one is really representing your team, your guides, your angels, and all those that watch over you. No matter whether you know it or not, every single soul that incarnates into the human experience has a team. The size of the team kind of depends on the size of the mission that the soul is embarking upon. Because right now, um, I want to offer this. I believe that Aquarius is being asked to get into partnership with your guides and your team. And I'm going to go two different ways, because the first thing I want to address is people who have children and people who want children, because there's something going on with you connecting with spirit, because Opal is talking about your children being safe on heaven and on earth, and God is in charge of them. And here is the transformation of the swan, from the ugly duckling to the swan. The first thing I thought of when I saw this was that those of you that are trying to create families, if you've been frustrated, if for some reason things have not worked out, think about a soul incarnating with this birth chart, with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all sitting on top of each other in retrograde, no less. In your birth chart, look at all the squares. What a challenge. So what if the soul says, I'm going to wait and come on the back side of that? Because in the angel's advice, Spirit is asking Aquarius to have compassion, not just for their immediate circle, but for themselves, because of this disruption. And I am going to go back to if you have children, if you're single. So there's kind of three ways I'm looking at this, because Isaiah represents giving birth to new ideas and new situations, and she is pregnant. And there's the movement card. So for those of you that are of childbearing years, both men and women who want to create families, if you've had any challenges meeting the partner so that you can create the family, or actually getting pregnant, it could be because the timing is off. And then the more you're trying, the more resistance you're putting into it. So you're inadvertently blocking, because it's a time to open up and think to yourself, I'm inviting a soul to join me on this life experience and to be their guide. I'm not creating a kid. Now, for those of you that already have children, you may be having challenges with those children right now. They may be feeling like they are growing. I'm going to stick with the idea of being in partnership with your team, because your children may be transforming into little adults that actually are making sense and starting to question your authority. And I say that because to have compassion, not only for them, but for yourself, but mostly for them as they start to individualize. Not every child, obviously is dutiful and does everything their parent wants them to do, because the child is growing and the child is starting to come up with new ideas. And this movement that's happening is really starting to shift the relationship. Now, for those of you that never had children like me and never want children, okay, no offense to any children out there, but it just, there were certain things I thought should be in play. Didn't happen. So this children thing is about your babies, your dream babies, the things you want to experience in life, whether it be travel, whether it be ease of finance, whether it be a partner. Because again, I'm not seeing this as partnership with an individual as much as I'm seeing partnership with your team, with your guides, with your loved ones that have crossed over, as you transform and turn over your dreams to spirit, so that spirit may give you an experience to see that you are being protected and your dreams are being cared for and nurtured in a way. Because lately spirit has shown me that disruption is the doorway to our dreams, and that's where we have to have compassion. Many of you may have Aquarius moon, Aquarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums may find that you're being your disruption of your everyday job, of your everyday routine, has spawned ideas and actions within you that you otherwise would not have taken. If COVID hadn't happened, if the disruptions in our various countries had not taken place, you may not have been spawned. And so now is time, the timing is right to give birth to new ideas, new situations, and new things, because now is a time to take. There's more fertile ground. So using the Uranian, the rebellious, independent energy of Uranus to move your story forward, to say to this full moon, I'm ready to let go of the illusion of what's holding me back and really allow myself to move my story forward. And then taking the square between, Mercury and Libra, what about your everyday activities is being run in a way where the partnerships, the Libran dynamic of it is it serving you, or is there, or are you wanting more harmony? It's about examination. Because when I look at the square up to Saturn, which represents depression, sadness, bad news, oppression in some ways, where is this coming from? Like, I feel like you need to look deeper into it. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is for Aquarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. This is the angel's advice for traversing this transit, this full blue moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus, and also I'm focusing in on the square between Mercury and Saturn in Libra and Capricorn. Okay, now I'm going to go on to Capricorn. Thank you very much, Mia Noltz. I hope I made sense of that. Okay. Stephen, are you plugging yourself on my show today? Or are you plugging me doing readings? All right, here we go. Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I'll tell you, Capricorn is going to be a relief in the next few months when these planets separate and you're able to sort of get back on your feet again. I kind of want to put it that way. Because there's been a lot of soul searching required of you, a lot of digging deep into your beliefs, into how you want to birth yourself. So here you go, Capricorn. Our first angel is Xana, the angel of protection. The second is Opal, in the same position as we saw with Aquarius, in the opportunity and or the obstacle. In the angel's advice, we have Omega, the card of victory, the angel of victory. And the final is Archangel Gabriel. Okay. All right, here we go. Xana in the foundational position is being joined by the Goblin. Opal's being joined by the Earth Fairy. Omega's being joined by the Queen. And Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the Novice. All right. So when we look at the ego, the Goblin represents the ego, the wounded ego. And there's the protection card. Here we've been talking about Saturn squaring Mercury. Okay, and this is exact on Halloween, October 31st. So it's now floating around the square and the other planets as well. And I feel like there is a very strong possibility that Capricorn's authority has been in question, or you're feeling authority questioning you, or you're feeling some sort of oppression through bosses, through landlords, through people who have control over your everyday existence. That's the way I want to put it. And to me, you're getting to know that you're being protected. And in some ways, I feel like, how are you edging God out? That's the acronym for the ego in some ways. It's when we're under the illusion. Because I really believe that this is not about your children for Capricorn, but about the childlike innocence and the joy that children feel. A lot of these little kids I see with their parents, 5, 6-year-olds, they mask up before they go into the market, and they're not traumatized by it. It's just sort of something they do, and they still run down the aisles all goofy. And I feel like for Capricorn, it's really the Earth Fairy is saying it's time to start a new foundation based on a more childlike dynamic, something more enjoyable, something more fun. This is where you have an opportunity to be liberated and to really choose. Because in the angel's advice, the Queen is here, and the Queen is fertile. The Queen is about friendships. And so if you're a man, it doesn't have to be female friendships. It could be any friendships. And it's about receiving and being joyous and the ease of life. And here's Omega, the angel of victory. But to keep up the good work, you must continue to believe in a more joyous opportunity versus seeing things from too much of an adult point of view. Because Archangel Gabriel, again, about communications, and it's an unstable new beginning. I really believe that Capricorn, especially if you have a stellium in Capricorn, you have been going through a complete transformation of who, what, and how you want to be who you are. And I feel like it's time to sort of remove the cloak of obligation, remove the cloak of stoic behaviors, and then take the higher vibration of Saturn and start to implement that towards what really brings you joy. And if indeed you've had trouble finding your joy because you've been under the cloak of obligation and of dutiful behavior for so long, then it's time to just play. So I want to say this for Capricorn. As you move into this blue full moon, this rare event that is literally sitting with the planet of liberation, and you may feel slightly anxious. You may feel a little bit like, almost like it feels very disruptive, I have to tell you. And when I say it, it feels more disruptive on the inside than the outside because I feel like I'm anticipating it. So as this feeling and the emotions of the moon and Uranus come together, it's starting to really think about what is true to you, what's true in your heart, and knowing, Capricorn, that you're going to be protected by spirit. So anything that moves away is part of that protection. It may be part, if something moves, let's just say something moves 10 degrees away from you. It doesn't mean it has to exit altogether. It's just giving you space to figure out who and what you are without all the outside noise of what you could easily pick up as, oh, someone needs me to do this and I need to be there for that person. And I'm not saying you're going to turn into a selfish person who doesn't care about others, but it feels more like you're starting to think of things on an emotional level. And as you start to connect to what you need, then that gives you permission to feel like, okay, if I take care of my needs, then maybe you get to take care of yours. It feels a little bit like a domino effect. So that's what I want to say. You're being protected as you start a new beginning, as you're communicating differently from yourself, and part of your old self is still chiming in. Are you sure? Are you sure? I hope that made sense. Okay. On to our Sagittariuses. Okay. Thank you, Brianna. Okay. Hi, Rossi, babe. Welcome to the room. I think you're a new name I haven't seen before. Okay. Hi, Scott. Good to see you. Hi, Cosmo Kid. Hi, Wilda. I think I said that right. All right, here we go. Congratulations, Brianna, on the new job. All right, Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel. The second is Seraphina. The third is Archangel Gabriel. And the final is Merlina. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the partnership card. Seraphina is being joined by the spider. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the joy card. And Merlina is being joined by the hawk. Okay, so this is what I want to say. I don't think that Archangel Uriel deals with frustration, unforgiveness, and anger, and I don't even think that it is about Sagittarius being angry at all. And you may be slightly frustrated. I mean, come on, 2020 has been a frustrating year. But what I feel like is over this next 2 weeks, this full moon is on next Saturday. It's going to take us all the way through till Mercury goes direct. And I really think that the world at large is going to be frustrated and angry, and people are going to be polarized in their opinions and really kind of having I've had it up to here kind of thing. So I feel like, because I don't feel like Sagittarius is necessarily angry. It's not resonating with me. It feels like the rest of the world is. And in some respects, I feel like the partnership card is being able to look at this anger and the unforgiveness and the frustration and to see a wisdom in it, because Seraphina offers a happy change to the family. And then there's the spider, which again to me is a relationship card. I think of it as my realtor card. It's sort of, you create a relationship with your buyer or your seller, and I feel like there's something bigger going on here. So I want to play to the idea that Sagittarius rules, the connection to the angelic realm, foreign ideas, higher beliefs, higher education. And I feel like it's up to our Sagittariuses to help us see the wisdom this week of the change, that the disruption that's going on in 2020 throughout the world is really offering us more joy in our everyday lives. When I look at this is the second and third position are more in the ethernet. They're more conceptual really right now. This is my opportunity and or my obstacle. Am I able to see the disruption is actually bringing us something closer to what we want to live in our everyday lives? Because this is what the angel's advice is, to go for the joy. And when I could say, oh, Archangel Gabriel wants you to talk about joy. I don't think it. I think it's third house things. I think it's like Gemini. It feels like in your everyday activities to continue to hold what is most important to you, because the world is not going to have any conclusions about what's going on. 2020 is not over. We have I'm not just talking about the presidential election. There'll be no conclusions of that for sure. I do not think we'll have an answer. I think we're going to have to wait for that. So to me, the only way to get past any sort of confusion is for me to be able to see what is my story through all of this. What do I want for myself? And that's where Sagittarius to me really becomes kind of like, the priest, the authority of being able to move with a foreign idea. It's sort of taking the material out and taking it into I'm willingness to take my horse and to ride in a new direction, because that will bring me happiness versus banging my head against a wall like everybody else is doing. That's kind of where this feels to me. Maybe some of you are experiencing frustrations in your partnerships. Maybe you're feeling frustrations and when I say partnerships, again, I'm not just talking about relationships with your intimate partners. These could be contractual partnerships. We have relationships with our fellow coworkers, etc. So, but I'm really not going there for this. To me, this feels like Sagittarius is in this high vibrational place and can see the wisdom of harmony and peace, but nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to go there. So what am I going to do? Go with you into anger and be frustrated? No, I'm not. I'm just going to move on and do me. That's what it feels like. I feel like a crazy person saying that right now, but that's what it feels like. So you rise above the confusion this week. You rise above the cuckoo crazy of whatever's going on, and for the next couple of weeks. And you're like, I'm just going to do me. And if me is just like making good food and staying home or working on an art project, I would say this too. I want to just take this one more little crazy step. Sagittarius, do Venusian things. Enjoy music, enjoy art, enjoy poetry, enjoy things that create harmony within you. That's where I think, okay, I'm going on to my Scorpios. It's funny how the same cards I've been working with for 20 years, they change, they tell me different stories all the time. It's almost like, I don't know. I never know if I'm a crazy person or not, but so far so good. Okay. I would love to be featured on your YouTube Astro Ascension Tarot. That would be fun. I'd love it. Okay, here we go. On to our Scorpios, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And it's interesting to me too, because I want to say this, and I don't know how or who this may apply to, but we've got Pluto and Jupiter sitting together in November. They're going to be exact. I can't remember the day, but one of the things that 2020 does have to offer, and even 2019, the last couple of years, is that those of you that have been working on some things that have the potentials to change the way the human does work, I think some of you could very much find the key to the lock, and what you've been working on that seems like it's been stalled could blow the doors open, and you could find the right investor, find the right backer, get your product into Walmart or Target, and suddenly, you're buku rich. It can happen. So keep your eye on the bigger prize. I want to say that for everybody, because I've been watching a lot of shows on how millionaires are made lately on the History Channel, and it's usually one key decision. If J.D. Rockefeller had never gotten into bed with Cornelius Vanderbilt, who knows how long it would have taken him to be who he was. So, all right, here we go. Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Sonia. The second is Fiona. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Chantal. Okay, here we go. Sonia is being joined by the water fairy. Fiona is being joined by the eagle. The frog is joining Isaiah. And Chantal is being joined by the bear. Whew. I got this as a very, very eighth house energy today. Intimacy and old lovers. That's what this felt like as I started to do this. The water fairy is my emotions. It's how I feel. And there's Sonia. Some of you, okay, a couple things may be going on here. Some of you may actually start to be feeling the presence of your loved ones. I don't know why I want to put it that way, but I do. The presence of loved ones crossed over. And I don't want to say anything like it has to be your old grandma. I mean, they may be friends. It may be, because I don't necessarily get that this is just, this is how I want to put it. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto rules the unseen, what we feel. It rules death. The eighth house is death and rebirth. And as humans, we're going through a period of time that could truly create immense anxiety and unsuredness and unexpected challenges. So this is where I'm going for Scorpio. I feel like it's time to play to the Pluto and to start to be the I see dead people kind of person, but not like that. Allow for the communications to come through, because I feel like there's a couple things when I look at Scorpio, because the Chantal represents loved ones on this side, the resurgence of a love, but I feel like somehow there's comfort coming from the other side that's more tangible, more in the 3D world for you. Because now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving it. And here's the connection to the angelic realm. I feel like there's a potential epiphany coming that makes sense of something, but it happens as a result of this feeling that I have connected with my deceased loved one, or somebody who's feels, this doesn't feel like a guide as much as it feels like someone from the other side coming through to reassure me that I am being watched over, loved, guided, protected. Because Isaiah is saying it's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations. And there's the frog, emotional cleanup, releasing of old things. And then I have Chantal and I have the history card. So I feel like for my Scorpios, there's the opportunity for you to let go or to reconcile through this blue moon some beliefs you may have had about your love life. Let's say this is the example I want to use. There's the potential that you've been in a situation that's been going up and down and up and down, and it always feels like it's always going to crash and burn, but it never really does. So instead of worrying about it crashing and burning, you're only talking about, oh, well, it just goes up and down and up and down. And you start playing to the, well, how do I want to be up when it's going down? I want to say this, that's one level of it. I feel like some of you who are single and who are not interested in relationship will have an opportunity to connect with a guide. And I say a guide because I went to myself right now. I haven't had a loved one crossover recently. But sometimes I feel like my guides, I feel like my grandmother on my dad's side is a deceased loved one who's there, because I feel like there's a connection with somebody that I've known on this planet, somebody that I have had interactions with. And this sort of, I don't know if it comes through a meditation, but it feels palatable to me, almost as if you can't ignore it. It's such a strong sign, and in that it gives you um, more of an anchor in your connection. That's what I want to talk about. And as a result of that, you start to feel comforted, and I feel like it gives you a sense of faith again. I don't know why I'm going to such a ethereal place versus going into your love life right now, because it just doesn't feel that way to me. It feels like it comes to um, a place where you're starting to connect with the other side in a way that feels tangible on this side and helps clear the fog and the unseen and the scary parts of your ruling planet Pluto. That's what I want to say. Okay, we'll go on to Libra. Do our guides change? This is what I want to say about our guides. Yes, some of them do change, but we are assigned a team that we have agreed with and we've talked to before we leave the planet or come to the planet. I kind of think of it as going into the conference room. We all kind of pick a lane. And so for me, I know I have 5 that I've seen. 2 I see, 3 are in shadow, and they've been with me my whole life. I believe we have a master guide and a master angel that we have agreed to, that walks like parents through this lifetime with us. And then as we endeavor certain chapters in our life, other guides come in like teachers, and then sometimes they leave. There's no need for you to be around your kindergarten teacher right now. You've well learned those lessons, so that energy wouldn't serve you. So yes, I do believe that it's very much, there's a lot of fluidity to this dynamic. Okay, let's go on to, I heard Joe Biden also, I think, has a Scorpio ascendant. I'm not sure. Somebody referred to, I was listening to somebody and they referred to him as having a Scorpio ascendant, but I don't recall his chart. All right, let's go on to Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Tebow, your guides never go AWOL. Sorry, you must have gone AWOL. They don't go AWOL. Doubt may make it feel like they go AWOL. Confusion may make it feel like they go AWOL. Physical pain can make it feel like they go AWOL, but they don't. All right, Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is the angel of victory, Omega. Second is Maya, the angel of schooling and education. Then we have Adriana. And in the final position, we have Layla. Shuffle a bit. Thank you, Dawn. All right, here we go. Joining Omega is the protection card. Joining Maya is the forgiveness card. Joining Adriana is the cow. And joining Layla is the high priestess. Okay. Omega talks about victory. Omega talks about keeping up the good work. And then we have the protection card. I very much have been feeling a lot of messages saying that disruption is the doorway to my dreams. And I want to look at it this way, because we've disrupted the way our children go to school. We've disrupted the way that we interact in our work environments. Many of us have enjoyed working from home. Many of us have been more productive. And so for me, what I feel like for Libra, and because right now we have Mercury in Libra retrograde squaring Saturn, and it's going to be exact on Halloween, the night of this moon. So I feel like your your ability to stay in your lane, Libra, to stay in your balance, to stay in your own place of harmony is how you are protected. Because what I think that Libra is learning or is remembering, because I truly believe we remember, is, but Maya, the angel of schooling and education, and here's the forgiveness card. And I don't think it's about forgiveness. It's about reconciliation. And I say it's about reconciliation because when I was younger and I was trying to get over my childhood and the constant love you gotta goes and the constant you got this and that, I mean, I honestly do not feel like I was parented by anyone but my grandparents. My parents were just like, they popped me and my sister out and then they were like, okay, we'll see you later, gotta go to the bar. So to me, I used to always have a lot of resentment about it. I used to get really, I'm an Aries rising. I was very upset about it. But I learned how to reconcile the experience because it made me stronger. And it made me start to take those experiences and ask Spirit, how can I turn them into tools that help not just me, but others? Because Libra, you're being led to something. And I want to offer it this way. I think you're being led to nourishment. I think you're being led to understanding that imbalance sometimes is what spawns balance. Being ruled by Venus, you might always want things to be kumbaya, to be awesome, to be, everybody should be happy all the time. But if we were never, ever sad, we would never fight harder for our happiness. Because I think that Spirit is asking Libra to take some time to really reflect on what it is that you want in this world. And sometimes Libra will overcompensate to keep the peace. And that's not really working for anybody. So I feel like this particular week, moving forward, as our emotions become more palatable to us, and these emotions of feeling the sense of anxiety or the sense of unsureness or the sense of I almost feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. It could be really the other shoe is the truth of your heart. And that when you step into that truth of your heart, you're truly being protected. And now you can figure out through the idea of learning about reconciling that you are being led more than you are being, that you can do anything, that you can, because you can be an energy that helps Spirit lead you and open a door. You can also be an energy that blocks. And I think that's part of what Libra is learning. So if you're overcompensating, overly agreeable to what's not true to your insides, you're being protected as you diplomatically express yourself. And you start to really give life to the idea that when I really go for what I want, when I trust that bigger picture of what I want for myself, that inner intuition, I connect with Spirit, then I actually am aligning in a way that offers an invitation to others to align with their deepest truth, their deepest, I want to say what's just for their experience. Okay, let's go into our Virgos. Everything about 2020 is about the emotional body. That's what Spirit has shown me. We can try to do our old ways and work hard and push hard, but the whole theme is the opposite. It's like the whole idea of being restricted in our homes is not about holding us down from a virus. It's about it really allowing us to recalibrate what do we want, what brings us joy, and finding the balance of that. When I think about, and I know last week I said who invented the high heel, and Amy Brown came through awesomely with the little, really made sense of why the high heel was invented. So now I need to know, why did we work 5 days a week? Why didn't we choose to work 4 days a week with more balance? I'm sure there's a logical reason, but it probably plays to an era when we didn't have lights and we needed to, play by daylight and things that were more restrictive. And now we've evolved past that. So my whole point is we're supposed to be taking 2020 and really reviewing what makes us happy and then allow for the evolution towards that, because it's the beginning of a decade. It's the beginning of a whole chapter, and it's changing whether we like it or not. Just call me. See, it really is, but I don't want you to feel like you've been run over. Your emotional body's been run over. It's just been offered an opportunity. That it's that disruption is the doorway to our dreams, because we really don't manifest from anywhere but our emotional body. Whether we, I mean, we can work hard all day long. It's just, the harder you work without the belief behind it, the bigger the wall you hit at some point. So anyway, all right, let's go. Here we go. On to Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Athena. Our second is Bethany. The third is Chantal. And the final is Oceana. Okay, here we go. Athena is being joined by the deer. Bethany is being joined by the perception card. Chantal is being joined by the forgiveness card. And Oceana is being joined by the restriction card. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to pull a clarification only because Oceana talks about taking action, and then I have restriction. So I want to get a little clarification, and then we have the joy card. Okay. So first thing I want to say for Virgo, Athena talks about lovingly asserting yourself, and the deer is talking about gentleness and diplomacy. And I could go with the deer in the headlights and fear, but I don't feel it this way. You know, Virgo represents the 6th house. It represents health. It represents employment. It represents slavery. And I feel like Virgo, this full moon feels like you could very much wanting to liberate yourself. And I want to put it this way, because I'm kind of going to, and you know, our lovely Juan has a stellium in Virgo. So I'm kind of being inspired by what he's gone through, which is to this health thing, because I feel like now is a time to lovingly assert yourself and trust your body more, to trust literally your physical health. And I say that because Bethany is in the opportunity or the obstacle, and then there's the perception card. And Bethany is a card of self-care. But I don't think it's about, you know, a manicure and a pedicure. I think it's about thinking about, you know, moving forward. One of the big themes for me in 2020 has been my physical body. I started feeling some changes as I was ending my 50s, and at first I just thought it was the aging process, and then I got introduced to the concepts of the medical medium and started to implement that, and realized there was a lot of things I could do that were going to fix things. So my point is this: I feel like for my Virgos, there's an opportunity for you to fall in love with your physical self again, to feel revitalized within your physical body, to remove the shackles that have enslaved you to whatever your belief system is, the perception cards, because Oceana is saying to take action to lift the restriction so that you can live in more joy. I was listening to Lada's most recent videos that she published just a couple of days ago, and she is an Aries and I'm an Aries rising. So when I was listening to Aries, she talked about, you know, giving up drinking, and I gave up drinking too. Focusing in on my physical body and putting things in my body that fuel my body versus feeding my body. So where I used to get a steak and potatoes and put the salt and the pepper all over it, yummy, yummy. Now I'm like, okay, maybe not so much salt. I really feel like this is about Virgo's physical body and about asserting yourself towards the things that shackle you. So if you aren't shackled in some ways by a health dynamic right now, then go to your employment and what your perceptions are of that, and whether or not you feel I have to do this because I've invested so many years in a 401k and a da-da-da-da-da-da, versus what brings me joy. Because I want to say this, it's not a call to action to quit your job. It's more about starting to think about taking those small steps. And those are usually permissions. I do love steak and potatoes too. I was trying to concentrate on the salt, not so much salt. But so that's what I want to say for my Virgos, because I want to say that when I look at this rare blue moon, you know, it's 2 full moons in 1 month. And it feels like they literally were on the, I mean, didn't we start this, wasn't the October 1st a full moon, if I remember correctly? And then the 16th was the new moon. And now, so it's almost like this bookends of what we want to release, transform, put an end to, and allowing ourselves to be emotionally unshackled. That's what I think the Uranus and the moon have to offer us. All right, let's go on to our Leos. The third, well, somebody can Google it for me, but yeah, it was something around there. It was very, very, very beginning of the month. I remember that. Yeah, what is that? Unchained Melody? Change, change, change. All right, I won't sing. All right, here we go. Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, here we go. Well, happy birthday on August 20th, Astro Ascension. That's cool. I love my Leos. All right, here we go. Leo rising. Our first angel is Ariel. New psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and the world at large. Then we go to Isabella. Yes, the timing is right. Then we go to Bridget, looking deeper into a situation, and Layla. All right, here we go. Chaos theory, Leo, stellium. You are a leader, and you are creative, and you are fun. And I would think romantic. All right, here we go. Ariel is being joined by the water fairy. Oh, I think my Leos are going to start feeling their intuitive bodies. Maybe you need to get a notepad so you can take notes. Here we go. Isabella is being joined by the deer. Bridget's being joined by the high priestess. And Layla's being joined by the dragon. All right, so I got to tell you, I think that this is a week when my Leos may be feeling that connection to spirit very strongly. You know, I encourage you all to create a connection, and this feels almost like a connection you don't even have to bother to try to create. It comes to you because here we're talking about the moon, the full moon, and then here's the water fairy and Ariel. I would not be surprised. Yes, get a notepad. Honestly, chaos theory, because I think that you may be getting some downloads this week, or there may be some crazy coincidences. You're just like, oh, I don't know. That's awfully coincidental, because spirit doesn't just work through meditation, guys. In fact, you know, I would say that the hardest way to connect with your guides is through meditation, because you're trying so hard to quiet your mind. And that's like, you know, trying to put your hand over a fire hydrant when it's gushing. It's not going to do much. But if indeed you're out in the world saying to spirit, I'm open to your messages and I will pay attention. Then when you're listening to your radio, you know, a song may come on, or a commercial on the television, or something you read on Instagram. I mean, there's so many avenues for spirit to come through. So use your creative minds, Leo. Oh, I just got chills everywhere, because I think you're going to be getting serious, serious messages this week. I want to say over the next couple of weeks, because we've got this week as we go into the full moon, and then we talk about that other square, but I won't address that just yet. And then as I think about it, we've got the 2 weeks moving forward. So I want to offer this. If indeed your intuitive hits feel like, if you're kind of a newbie, sometimes the intuitive hits feel like a bass drum, boom, 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 boom. So it may feel a little bit like a warning. Now here we are in the United States. We're coming towards an election. We're coming towards a time when everybody's going to be really impassioned about their viewpoint. So, because is a time to be, and I want to say this is about gentleness and diplomacy. I don't think the deer is about fear right now. Leo is a leader. Leo is not afraid. I don't think Leo's afraid. The lion is, the lion is the king of the jungle. So yes, the timing is right to be gentle and diplomatic, not only with others, but with yourself, because there is a deeper picture going on. I don't know how many of you were watching a few weeks ago, but I've been inspired numerous times lately to think about how the sun rules Leo. It rules the house where creativity, self-expression, children, romance, personal pleasure, all fun things come through the fifth house. There's no downside to the fifth house that I can see. And now the angels are saying to look deeper into your version of yourself and what you want, because they're sending you messages that is bringing in confirmation and signs, and almost like a stepping stones, an inspiration. Make that call. You know, you may wake up and go, wow, I was just dreaming about this person. I haven't talked to him forever. And then suddenly they call you. Pay attention, because your connection to spirit is where your power lies. And I say it this way because I don't feel like you necessarily have to sit in nature as much as paying attention to what's going on around you. This full moon, full blue moon, is in Taurus. Taurus rules the earth. It rules nature and food. You could get a sign watching a food show. I have a client who was I don't want to cover my mouth, who is was on Instagram, and literally someone had made a post that they were looking for something, and she had that something they were looking for. And the potential of this collaboration or of this meeting could take them in places they would not have expected. They don't know each other, but she just happened to see this post. So for my Leos, this particular week and for the next two, I almost want to give this like almost as a 3-week kind of prediction, because we're at the beginning of this week and then the influence of the full moon. There's some sort of message coming from spirit for you. It could be a confirmation, but you're going to have to pay attention to it in the sense of it may feel very mundane. So I'll put it this way. If it feels like I'm not sure that's a message, it's too simple, then ask spirit to give you confirmation. Anything you hear or see 3 times is absolutely a message. So pay attention. Let's go on to our Cancers. Scott's got the love for us all today. This is really an opportunity for us to be in the vibration of the change we want to experience within our own lives. I'm really into this diamond art and I've been doing quite a few, well, I shouldn't say quite a few because they're kind of extensive, but I've decided that, you know, there's a part of me that says, oh, I should get up and I should clean and vacuum underneath my dresser, and I should clean my windows and all this kind of stuff. And then there's a part of me that just says, you know, I just want to work on this art project. And I started to feel guilty about not being productive. And then I realized maybe I am being more productive, giving myself permission to sit in this joyous vibration. And amidst all the chaos around me, you know, I mean, if it isn't one thing, it's another, honestly. All right. So that's where I'm going for everybody. Give yourself permission to sit in that joyous vibration, because whatever it is, you know, the laundry can wait till tomorrow, honestly, even if you've got no underwear left. Go commando. Just give yourself a break to take off the pressure, because there'll be enough outside influences putting pressure on. So our mango, I am going on to Cancer. I go backwards. I start at Pisces. I end at Aries. And I'm starting with Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, here we go. Grace and Antoinette is our first angel. Second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Teresa. And the final is Oceana. Okay. Here we go. Joining Grace and Antoinette is the bee. Joining Archangel Uriel is the swan. Joining Teresa is the horse. And joining Oceana is the novice. All right. Grace and Antoinette talks about compassion and having compassion and seeing things from another person's point of view. I don't always see it as seeing it from another person's point of view as much as having compassion when I don't feel great about something. But I want to hear from my Cancers. I want to say it this way, because I'm being very strongly pulled by the angel of compassion right now. And when we talk about vibrations, I kind of think that vibration of compassion is on a par with love, because I don't think you can have love without compassion, because in the human experience, we are naturally flawed and we tend to villainize each other for our flaws. So for my Cancers. I believe that you are starting to implement compassion, and I don't mean it just for your loved ones or for yourself, but maybe you're starting to feel the true compassion that the Mother Moon represents, because that's where your victory lies. And I felt like for quite some time going with this, I've been feeling that Cancer's been extremely, of all the signs, kind of the most emotionally pushed around by this year. And the push pull, of loved ones that we can be around, sometimes too much or not enough. And so I think that this compassion is really about your own being energy and watching yourself transform from frustration and anger into something bigger, something that without this frustration in the year of 2020, you wouldn't have been able to move directions. Because Teresa talks about taking care of other people too out of balance, to the point where you worry more about their happiness than you do your own. And the horse, to me, is moving in a new direction. And I feel like this is a little bit where, in some respects, as you have this energy of compassion, where you're not looking so much at what you're not getting, but what you're giving yourself. That's the way I want to put it, because there's an unstable new beginning. And that unstable new beginning starts with you taking loving actions towards yourself. Yeah, the frustration, Susie, exactly, the frustration and the anger in it's felt like it's been a couple of things. Like, it's been hitting not just the world stage and the restriction that I can't freely move with my loved ones, but also then dealing with the everybody's personalities. I live alone. I don't deal with bad moods. And the only person's bad mood I deal with is my own. My dog occasionally, will be a little finicky with his food, but he's always in a good mood. And I had a client come yesterday, and this person is a lovely person, but when they walked up the door, I could feel the vibe was off, like they were not in a good mood. And halfway through the reading, this person said, "Can I just go? I'm just not feeling it." And and I'm saying this because I immediately could have worried about myself and, oh, they weren't finding value, but I immediately felt that this person was off. So it was a way for me to be able to be compassionate to self, compassionate to them, and allow for this sort of, this is how we roll. Am I making any sense whatsoever? I have no idea. But to me, this is something that will take the air out for Cancer. It'll help you not feel so abandoned or so out there by yourself. That's kind of how I want to put it. Because the compassion is not about, it's kind of it almost feels like a well-rounded compassion. Like, well, maybe there's something I don't see going on in that other person. Maybe their hormones are off. Maybe they didn't sleep enough. Just that whole big kind of, that's where I'm going with that. So this is an opportunity for this new blue moon to release, or I should say, unshackle Cancer from feelings of being frustrated, seeing a bigger picture of things, and knowing that there's more. How do I want to phrase it? Because I don't want to say more. I want to say more connectedness, but it almost feels like it's not the same. It's not in the same. It feels more connected because I'm not trying to make it connected. I don't know how to put this. Have you ever had somebody hug you too long, where you're like uncomfortable, and you feel like they're not hugging you because they love you. They're hugging you because they need to hug you. It's more for them. That's how it feels. Like, it shifts away from that. So I'm not feeling so poached. I don't know. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. That's right. Thank you, Thibaut, for telling me about the time change in Europe. We don't have the time change here in the United States until November. We used to have it earlier, but I don't know why they changed things. Who knows? Is that when it is? Nina, are you in the United States? Is it November 2nd? November 3rd is the election. Holy moly. Okay. Good to see you, Martina. Sending you lots of love well over there on the other side of the world. All right, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Yes, Aileen, I think you say Eileen. I go backwards. So I start at Pisces and work my way towards Aries. So I'm on the last 3 signs. Gemini, Taurus, and then Aries. I started this I don't know, maybe a year ago during a retrograde, and I haven't been able to stop. I just feel like everybody else goes the other way. So this is my way of my Libra trying to bring balance into the situation. Okay, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is the Patience, angel Patience. The second is Desiree. The third is Fiona. And the final is Vanessa. Thank you, Aileen. Eileen. I think it's Eileen. I'm saying it wrong. Okay, here we go. Gemini, joining the Patience card is the Water Fairy. Joining Desiree and the Opportunity or the Obstacle is the Protection card. Joining Fiona in the Angel's Advice is the Focus card. And joining Vanessa is the High Priestess. Okay, so I want to say this. Earlier on one of the signs I mentioned that, if you were trying to have children right now, that souls being born with these birth dynamics, these planets where they are, would be super challenging. And I'm not saying that every child that's born right now is going to have a nightmare life. That's not true. But it is definitely one where the souls that are incarnating, I want to say, aren't faint. They're not, they're here on a serious mission. That's the way I want to put it. So for my Geminis, the reason I say that is because I think right now Patience is asking you to sit in an observation in some ways. And really, this is observing your own emotions. And I want to say it this way because this full blue moon that only happens once every 2 years in Taurus has an opportunity to give you a new foundation, to liberate you from some of your ways of thinking that have been taking you back and forth, because I think there's the possibility that Gemini in some respects has sort of been worn down to the point where you're falling on the side of I don't win versus the side where I do win. And I feel like you're being protected in some way. Sometimes what we think we want really isn't akin to our happiness. It's akin to the momentary happiness, but long-term happiness it would not serve. So conditions have not been favorable for Gemini to get exactly what they want right now. And I don't want to go just to my love life, but I feel like it has to do with some sort of personal satisfaction, and feeling viable within Gemini's creative body. And I don't mean creative like I'm creating music. I mean creating a relationship, creating a great job, creating a family, whatever it is, because you're being protected. And I think that it's time for you. Fiona is in the Angel's Advice saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving it. And it's time for you to focus. I'm thinking about one particular Gemini who I doubt very much is going to be listening to this broadcast. And this particular person cannot land on one vision. They tend to go back and forth. When we find the higher vibration of what this person wants, they can hang on to the vision for a minute, but then they go into the actual experience they're living, which is not feeding what they want. And so this back and forth energy creates a dynamic with spirit of back and forth manifestation. It's kind of like, if you're going to the computer and you want to get on astrolada.com, you better type Astrolada, because if you type Astrolad, you're not going there. So Spirit is asking Gemini to truly focus in on what it is you want to create. Because in the final position is the Faith over Fear and the High Priestess. And I really feel like deep in your heart, you're going to get what you want. You're going to manifest it. But you're in some ways getting in your own way with this sort of back and forth. Well, it hasn't happened yet, or the timing of it. I think a lot of you that watch the show know that I just turned 61 last Saturday, a week ago, and I've never been married and never had children. And, I really don't think that dream is dead. I don't put a lot of focus in on it, but I expect sometime in this decade, that I will meet somebody and I will enjoy family. I will know children. They may not be my biological children, but I will feel the love. So here's where I want to say for my Geminis, it's time for you to really study and pay attention to your own emotions and what it is that you have been, where have you been back and forth? Where have you been in some respects more focused in on what hasn't happened than what you want to happen? And then as a result of being aware of that, you're able to engage your guides and your angels to help you become more focused in the vibration, the emotional vibration, and keeping that alignment so that the physical manifestation can come in. Okay. Going on to Taurus. I know speak Spanish, you guys. Thank you, Sarah. Because we're trying to stay out of any sort of political, kooky, crazy talk, only because we want to stay safe for everyone to feel comfortable. I don't know if you've noticed, but we haven't seen Sammy's mom, Sammy, in a while because a few weeks ago it got a little rough in there and she didn't enjoy that. And so we want to kind of keep ourselves as neutral as possible and hold space for a bigger timing of things. Thank you, everybody. You're being so nice. Sarah, I haven't even colored my hair. It's just when I blow dry it, it looks lighter. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't have all the product in it. Okay. Yeah, you know what? We don't even have to embrace their opinion. Just give them the opportunity to have it. And if it's someone you know whose opinions annoy you, then just don't engage. That's kind of where I'm going. You know, some people are just very polarizing, and that's okay. We don't need to step into it. Let it be. There we go. Let it be. Oh, and look, my fan just turned on out of nowhere. So, yeah, put a little air in it. That's what Spirit is saying. All right, Taurus, here we go. Our first angel is Seraphina. The second is Maya. The third is Merlina. And the final is Archangel Gabriel. I have to tell you, my fan turned on high, too. So any minute now, my hair might be blowing in the wind. Okay. Thank you, Brianna. Okay, here we go. Taurus, joining Seraphina, the angel of happy families, is the High Priestess. Joining Maya, the card of schooling and education, is the Risk card. Joining Merlina is the Earth Fairy. And joining Archangel Gabriel is the Queen. All right, so Taurus, you've been experiencing Uranus going through your sign for the last 2.5 years or so. We're now in a retrograde, so Uranus is heading back into Taurus. And I want to put it this way because it's been floating around my moon. I really think that Seraphina is saying a happy change is coming to your family. And now it's time to connect with a larger vision of what that happy family looks like. You know, Taurus is a fixed sign. In some respects, you may be fixed on what has been. And I think that this Uranus aspect to the moon is going to have to liberate you or allow yourself to be liberated because it's time to learn something about risking having a new thought. I really think so because honestly, I was going to say for Taurus, but probably for every sign, most of the things that we want to manifest and we want to live don't seem possible. When we look around us, how many people do we really see in happy, thriving, intimate relationships? Oftentimes we see it start off in one way and then it sort of starts to have a meltdown. And, you know, when we see jobs, oftentimes do we see people who go to their jobs and love their jobs every day? They're not the majority. So I think that's where the big shift is coming. I think that's where Uranus is saying, you know what? I'm going to liberate everybody from this nonsense and I'm going to bring some alien ideas in. Maybe your happiness is the most important thing because it's time to risk a whole new foundation. And yes, you're going to be a bit confused because you don't have information on how that's going to happen. Because when we take a risk, it has nothing to do with knowledge. It is the unknown. And the thing that's been so cool about watching all these history shows about these powerhouse people who went from literally nothing to create billions of dollars is the amount of focus that they had and their willingness not to take no for an answer, to get innovative. because in the final position is Archangel Gabriel and the Queen. And for my fixed sign of Taurus, my heart is sometimes fixed, I'll say. I have to start to think that I'm not chasing this thing. I'm here to receive it. I'm here to be able to muse and to imagine and to feel the joy of what my best life is. And then my job is to risk trusting that Spirit really is backing me up. And the only thing that's getting in my way is my focus. And my focus has a lot to do with my emotional body. So when I'm not aligned to my focus, I ask Spirit, I'm confused. I don't know. Help anchor me. And in doing so, I learn that the most practical thing I can ever do on this planet is to imagine myself receiving the money I need, receiving the job that I want, receiving the permission to get a dog. When I wanted to get lucky, my building, I'd been here for, I don't know, I've been here 17 years. He's 8 now. So I've been here almost 10 years. And they'd never allowed a dog in the building. But you were allowed to have a cat, you could have a lizard, you could have a snake, but you couldn't have a dog. And when he came, I said to the landlord, "Can I have my dog?" And he said, "Yes." This is the kind of belief and the willingness to be brave that Taurus is going to have to implement in order to live the life you want. So that's where I'm saying, but you start with your connection with Spirit and explaining to yourself and to them to the point of how does it feel? Because I'll tell you, the greatest thing in the world that ever happened was getting my dog. He's the sweetest, most loving little beggar. Little beggar. Did you hear that alarm go off or whatever? All right, we're going to go on to our Aries, our final sign. Thank you, CC Pups. And I want to thank the other person for the tip. I'm sorry, I meant to say thank you. I missed the name when it scrolled by, but I want to thank you because it really makes me feel loved that you guys appreciate the show. It's really, to me, it's much bigger than the money itself. So, all right, here we go. Onto our Aries. Oh my goodness, pretty soon Aries will go direct next month. Yay. Oh, it was DK. Thank you, DK. Me. Thank you, Juan. Okay, exactly, Jenny. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But that venturing takes a brave heart. All right, here we go. Aries. Our first angel is Oceana. The second is Seraphina. Third is Astera. And the final is Archangel Gabriel. Perfect. I don't know how to say that. I'm going to say Simpaiwi. I hope I said that right. Okay. Joining Oceana is the Love card. Joining Seraphina is the Wind Fairy. Joining Astera is the Dog. And joining Archangel Gabriel is the Horse. Well, this is very interesting to me because when I look at the Love card, I'm not necessarily feeling like this is about intimate love, Aries. I think this is kind of about loving you. And I want to put it this way. I'm an Aries rising. I'm an extremely assertive person. Nobody has ever called me sheepish in my life. They called me a few other things, but sheepish wasn't one of them. And I feel like there's something about Aries that is going to, I feel like this moon may liberate you in some ways to totally owning your who you are, falling in love with you, kind of getting the duality of what Aries is. You know, Aries is brave and courageous. And sometimes people think that's like a bulldozer plowing them over. Because I really feel like when I look at this, I feel like what Oceana is saying, to take action, to lovingly asserting yourself towards love, everything you love, you know, whatever it is that you find joy. You know, I mentioned earlier that I have been feeling slightly guilty that I've been obsessed with this diamond art. You know, I do get as quickly through. So, in fact, I actually messed up an appointment and didn't write it down the other day because I thought I had written it down as I was so excited to get to doing my art project. So I feel like there's a wisdom to this because in the opportunity, the obstacle is the Wind Fairy, which is all about my thoughts and analysis. And then there's Seraphina, which is about a happy change to your family. And all of that is in relation to the dog, sincerity, unconditional love and loyalty, and Astera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and your desires. What if Aries, I know you're ruled by Mars, but what if Venusian things were actually the key to your walking through this next few months, this next few weeks for sure? Because it's going to get cuckoo and it's going to get polarizing, and people are going to be in warrior mode. You may feel yourself in warrior mode, and you may want to take on conversations with people that won't actually serve you or would serve you, but it may be a little bit, it could be a deal breaker. There could be things that happen over the next 3 weeks. It could be deal breakers in relationships, because in the final position I have Archangel Gabriel. I'm going with the communications, and the horse talking about going in another direction. When I look at it my way, the horse is actually going out of the spread. So I feel a little bit like Aries might want to start to think about addressing love, how you show your love, how you show yourself love, in a new way. In a new way. I want to say it this way. I've had conversations in my head lately where I've wanted to say, well, you've done this and I did that, and, let's clear the air. But in my head, you're clearly the more wrong of the two parties. And then I've had this moment where I said, no, don't bother to have that conversation. That conversation isn't going to take you anywhere fruitful right now. So for my Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, I think that you should be a warrior for love this next few weeks. I feel like this is really about the peaceful warrior, showing the higher vibrations of what courage and what bravery and what independence is. Because I think it's about taking actions to be an agent of love. And sometimes being that agent of love is holding your sword and putting it down. Putting it down. Because I'm not doing it for you people. I'm doing it for me as the Aries rising, because it's time for me to go into a new direction. And that direction is not about giving up the warrior. It's just about having that warrior work for me instead of against me. So I want to say, well, just call me C. When I say put my sword down, I don't mean that I'm not willing to go into battle. I'm not saying that I'm putting my sword down because I think you're right. I'm putting my sword down because I want my peace of mind to be more important than this argument or this situation or this dynamic. So it isn't always just the sword down in a physical way. Like when I was having those conversations in my head, to me, that was putting my sword down, because I'm like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to have the person on the other side give me their point of view. I don't want to hear their rebuttal to me. So I'm just going to know what I know and know that I know it. And then what I've found as I've gotten older, 61 going on 62, I'm in my 62nd year, is that oftentimes when I give it a minute, Spirit brings a perfect opportunity for me to express myself in a way I never thought I could have had I tried to go in and express myself in the situation. So this week, for everybody overall, people are going to be running high. I say it every week, but that's just the freaking hot box of 2020. It's just honestly, it's a show of disruption, and that disruption is about rewriting things. So I can't argue with it. But I also know that when it comes down to it, I make a choice through my perceptions, through my activities, through my attitude, how I want to show up. So I want to be an agent of peace. And sometimes that's not doing the laundry, it's doing my art project. Sometimes it's just checking out, from unplugging from the everyday world and creating your own little world. So that's where I'm going with this. I think we're going to have an interesting Halloween here in the United States. It'll probably be the first time that people are not allowed to trick or treat in the history of my world. And as we move into the following weeks, I hope we'll all be those lights that Spirit needs us to be here on the planet, and to shine them brightly. And for me, that's going to sit in a place where I I'm proud of my own behavior, regardless of anybody else's. So that's what I'm going to say. I want to thank everybody for joining again this week. I'll be back next week with more messages from your angels. And if you want to get a reading with me, you can always go to Lada's website. I'm under the reader's menu. My name is Teri Hunter, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Small Wildflowers. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate both of you. You've been, without my team, I wouldn't be able to do what we do. So thanks, and everybody sending lots of love to you. Peace out from me. See you later. Have a great week.